Good afternoon, everybody. It's afternoon, isn't it? Okay, it's still morning. Good morning. So I am reshooting the supplementary content video for the April/May entertainment review because I realized when I was going through my annotations of Friends, Lovers, in The Big Terrible Thing, I said something wrong. So I wanted to correct my error. And then I have another fan fiction chapter to share as well. First of all, let me get my annotations up. Where are they? Oh my goodness. Where is it? Here we go. All right. So the first annotation I wanted to talk about is on page 14. So when he talks about his childhood, he talks about how his parents were divorced and how he had to travel back and forth a lot between Canada, where his mother lived, and Los Angeles, where his father lived. And he also talks about how his mom was always working all the time because she was busy with her job as the Prime Minister's public relations assistant. So I wanted to focus on the quotes about his relationship with his mom. The first one is on page 14. And in it, Matthew Perry says, oops, okay, it's not page 14. It's actually page 25. My mom's job, therefore, meant that she was away at work a lot, and I was left to compete with the ongoing concerns of a major Western democracy and its charismatic swordsman leader. If I wanted a little attention, I believe the phrase at the time was latchkey kid, a blunt term for being left fucking alone. Accordingly, I learned to be funny, pratfalls, quick one-liners, you know the drill, because I had to be. My mother was stressed by her stressful job and already highly emotional and abandoned, and by me being funny tended to calm her down enough so that she would cook some food, sit down at the dinner table with me, and hear me out after I heard her out, of course. But I'm not blaming her for working. Someone had to bring home the bacon. It just meant I spent a great deal of time alone. I would tell people I was a lonely child, having misheard the phrase only child. So in the last video I made, I talked about how I felt bad for Matthew Perry because he didn't seem to have a very strong relationship with his parents, although he does go on later to say that him and his dad had a pretty decent relationship. I can kind of see how art imitated life for Matthew Perry because in Friends, Chandler does not have a good relationship with either of his parents. He never sees his dad. His dad is a person who has a drag show in Las Vegas, and he does not appear until season 6 before Chandler and Monica get married. Chandler's mother, Nora Bing, is a romance author who is quite well known, and Chandler does not really talk to her very often because she's always traveling, promoting her books. There's an episode in season 1, I think, where they're watching Jay Leno, and Chandler's mother is being interviewed, and Chandler's mother does mention her son in the interview briefly. But in another episode, Chandler actually confronts his mother about how abandoned he feels by her, and I'm wondering if Matthew Perry ever... I don't think he ever mentions that in here about how he confronted his mother about how alone he felt and stuff. But later on in the chapter, I forgot to annotate this quote, but later on in the chapter where Matthew Perry talks about his colon exploding and having to do surgery, there is a line that his stepfather says. I'm trying to find it. One night, this is what he talks about when he went to the hospital for his colon exploding. I think I'm getting to the part where his stepfather talks to him too. My mother looked at my girlfriend and said, "I think it's time for you to leave. This saved my life." 2 weeks later, I was driven to the set of Friends by a technician from Malibu. When I arrived, Jen Aniston said, "I've been mad at you." "Honey," I said, "if you knew what I've been through, you would not be mad at me." Then we hugged and I got the work done. I married Monica and got driven back to the treatment center. At the height of my point in Friends, the highest point in my career, the iconic moment on the iconic show in a pickup truck by a sober technician. Not all the lights were green on Sunset that night, let me tell you. So, as I have been rewatching Friends, I can definitely notice the trajectory of Matthew Perry's substance use disorder. I was not aware of this, of course, during the original time when I was watching the series, because as a teenager, I was just there for the comedy, the laughs, the development of the character relationships, or lack thereof in the case of Ross and Rachel, because their relationship was very screwed up. But going back to rewatch the season, especially rewatching the episode with the proposal scene, I can definitely see how much Matthew Perry was suffering and how skinny he was. And I am trying to find the quote from his stepdad. Recently, my mother told me she was proud of me. I'd written a movie and she'd read it. I'd been waiting for her to say that my whole life. When I pointed this out, she said, "What about a little forgiveness?" "I do forgive you. I do. I wonder if she can forgive me for everything I have put her through." So that line really stood out to me because, yeah, obviously, he had a very tough relationship with his mother, and I'm glad he was able to get forgiveness from her. That makes me happy to know. And I still can't find the quote that his stepdad said, but in the chapter when he's in the hospital recovering from his colon exploding, his stepfather, Keith Morrison, who is a news host on Dateline, says to him that his mother definitely loves him, and she is like the main focus of her life, and she talks about him a lot. So like, I think it was good for him to get that clarification, because he spent a long time thinking that his mother was too focused on her job and that she didn't really love him. So I'm glad he was able to work things out with his mom and get forgiveness from her. That makes me happy. Another annotation that I wanted to talk about talks about how he got his start in acting. So the first acting role he ever got was in a high school performance of Our Town by Thornton Wilder, where he played the lead character, George Gibbs, and his dad gave him a present for opening night, which was a book about acting tips inscribed with "Another Generation Shot to Hell." And so this starts to go into, like, how close Matthew Perry was to his dad, and my favorite scene between them is on page 157, when he was talking about, like, being really, his issues with his drug addiction, and, like, 157, I can just get the quote right up here. Let me find it. The quote on 157 reads, "Dad," I said, dead serious, "I know this is going to sound crazy, but at any moment a giant snake is going to come take me away. My father's reaction, Maddie, if a giant snake comes and takes you away, I will shit my pants. To this day, I am impressed by how my father rolled with my utter insanity." So, this banter between Matthew Perry and his dad, John Bennett Perry, really warmed my heart a lot, because it really showed me how close their relationship was. And if I could ask him any question, him being Matthew Perry's dad, John Bennett Perry, one thing that I would ask him is what it was like to film Fools Rush In with his son, and what his experience was like doing that film. And if there had been, like, a sequel movie to Fools Rush In, like, how would the relationship between Alex and her father would have improved with the birth of the baby at the end of the movie. Because actually I'm writing a fan fiction right now that's based on Fools Rush In. Right now it's just a diary entry that Alex writes about the birth of his daughter, but I am hoping to actually expand it and maybe have a flash forward scene where it's 3 years after the movie, and I want to write this fan fiction to honor my favorite Matthew Perry movie, Fools Rush In. The next annotation I wanted to actually talk about is about Fools Rush In. Ironically, where am I? 113. So on page 113, we have this quote. Once we wrapped season 2 in April, I headed to Vegas to shoot my first major movie. I was being paid $1 million to star in Fools Rush In with Salma Hayek. To this day, it is probably my best movie. I 100% agree with Matthew Perry when he says that Fools Rush In was his best movie. It's not only his best, but it's one of my favorites, aside from the Ron Clark story. My favorite parts of Fools Rush In are the scenery of the scene where they're, like, looking over the canyon. I love the scene where Alex is at the party with Isabel's family and he's holding the baby. And, like, Isabel catches him holding the baby out of the corner of her eye. And, like, that scene makes me sad in a way, because it makes me think about how if Matthew Perry was still alive, he would have really made a great father if he had actually found somebody to settle down with and marry. And I felt really sad that he was so lonely and never ever able to settle down with somebody. The final annotation that I wanted to mention appears on page... actually, 2 more annotations. The first one is about my favorite quote from Fools Rush In. "You are everything I always knew I ever wanted. I wrote it out and handed it to Andy Tennant, who loved it, and it became the most famous line in the movie. And movie-wise, probably the best line I have ever said. I, again, agree with Matthew Perry on this point. It is definitely the best line from that movie. And I have done artwork based on it in my art class. I have done the artwork twice, and the second time I did the artwork, it actually sold in the art show that was earlier this month. So I'm very excited to announce that I actually sold a piece of my fan art. I have no idea who bought it, but I would like to say to them that I appreciate your support, and I hope that you like my artwork. The final annotation I wanted to talk about talks about how close Jennifer Aniston was to Matthew Perry, and generally how close they all were as a cast. I can't... Alright, Jennifer Aniston called him out... 1:30. 1:30. I know you're drinking, she said. I had long since gotten over her. Ever since she started dating Brad Pitt, I was fine and had worked out exactly how long to look at her without it being awkward. But still, to be confronted by Jennifer Aniston was devastating, and I was confused. How can you tell? I said, I never work drunk. I've been trying to hide it. We can smell it, she said in this kind of weird but loving way. And the plural we hit me like a sledgehammer. So I wanted to share this annotation specifically because after Matthew Perry died, Jennifer Aniston posted on Instagram that she had spoken to Matthew Perry before he passed away and that he was actually doing really well and that he was healthy. And as people who watch my YouTube videos know, when I initially was setting out to interview Matthew Perry about his book last summer, I was contacted by several people who were pretending to be him. And it was very disappointing because I was really, really, really hoping to get to talk to him about his book and ask him a plethora of other questions, including stuff about his time on Friends, stuff about his movies, and if he had heard the rumor that 17 Again was going to be a musical and if he was going to reprise his movie role on the Broadway stage. Now that he is gone, I will not be able to ask him any of that. And I'm very sad and disappointed. And I am also still very upset with the hackers. But back to my point about Jennifer Aniston. I wanted to let her know, not that she's ever going to watch my video, but if she comes across it, how much I appreciate her for posting that, because when she posted that at the beginning of November, I was still very sad and emotional over Matthew Perry dying, and to know that he was not suffering before he passed away made me very happy to hear. So I really appreciate her for posting that on Instagram. And I don't think she's aware of how much I appreciate her for that, so thank you. And amidst the hackers, I felt that at one point I was talking to him, but I actually don't know if that was him. So again, if she's watching this video, I just wanted to know if he mentioned me at all when he was talking to you, because if he did, that would be amazing, but if he didn't, then that's how I know that I was actually talking to a hacker and somebody who was actually not genuinely Matthew Perry. So now I wanted to share some recent fan fiction chapters for my Matthew Perry Memorial fan fiction. The first one is the one about the proposal episode. Let me just... No, that's not the right version. I have too many versions of this, I think. Okay. Sorry for the delay. I need to get my Archive of Our Own page up really quickly. Chapter index. The one with the back and forth. I am so excited because Uncle Chandler is proposing to Monica tonight. I am going with Rachel, Phoebe, and Uncle Joey to the charity auction for Rachel's work so Uncle Chandler and Monica can be alone together. Monica and I helped each other get ready for the festivities. You look very pretty, Monica, I whispered as I looked at her in absolute awe. Monica helped me with fastening the clasp on my necklace. So do you, honey. You will have a blast at Rachel's auction tonight. Try not to overspend. I chuckled. What on earth would I bid on at a silent auction, Monica? I am only 14 years old. I am sure that if you see something you like, Rachel or Phoebe would bid on it for you. Trust me, my mother would get very angry at them if that happened, so I'm not encouraging them to do it. Monica squeezed my shoulder. You know how much Rachel loves you. If you see something that you like, she would absolutely bid on it for you. As I was browsing at the silent auction, a silver necklace with my birthstone in the center caught my eye. Rachel kissed my forehead. You would look so that would look so beautiful on you, honey. Do you want me to bid on it for you? I nodded. Thank you, Rachel. In addition to winning me the necklace, Rachel also won a trip to Paris. It was a shock to everybody that Uncle Joey won the grand prize, which was a sailboat. I never even knew that he liked to sail. After we got home from the silent auction, I went into my bedroom and got changed into more comfortable clothes. There was a knock on the door. Can we talk, honey? Oh, it's Uncle Chandler. He looked distressed. Sure, Uncle Chandler. What's the matter? Did Monica say yes? Uncle Chandler exhaled. Things were going well until Richard showed up with his date. Who's that? Monica's ex-boyfriend, who Monica clearly still has feelings for. Oh, my jaw dropped. Oh no, is she going to marry him instead? Uncle Chandler was shaking. I don't know. I thought she loved me, but I guess I was wrong. I looked at him. You know deep down that Monica really does love you, Uncle Chandler, so you have to go fight for her. You really need to go talk to Richard. Uncle Chandler's lips grazed my forehead. You're right, honey. I will go do that right now. About 10 minutes after Uncle Chandler left to go to Richard's, Auntie Monica came back from Richard's and knocked on the door. Hi, sweetheart. Would you like to help Uncle Joey and I set up the apartment across the hall for my proposal to Uncle Chandler? I looked at her. Sure. What do you want me to do? Move some furniture around and help us set the lighting up. I nodded. Okay. Uncle Chandler was really angry that your ex-boyfriend showed up at dinner, Monica. Monica squeezed my hand gently. I know, baby girl. I thought I was still in love with Richard, but after talking to him, I realized that I truly love Uncle Chandler and want to spend the rest of my life with him. I fell into her embrace. I'm so glad, Monica. I thought for a second that you were going to back out of the engagement. Monica's arms wrapped around me and she kissed my forehead softly. Oh, honey, I absolutely would never do that to Uncle Chandler. You know as much as I do how much I love him, and we love you to the moon and back. You have nothing to worry about. Uncle Chandler seemed really worried that you were going to get back together with Richard, and I was really worried about him. I love you too, Monica. Monica kissed the top of my head. Come on, let's get things set up. We don't really have too much time before Uncle Chandler gets back. The proposal went off without a hitch. I waited in the bedroom while everything went on, reading my book for English class. After about 10 minutes, there was a knock on the door. It was Monica. Sweetheart, you can come out now. Uncle Chandler was sitting on the couch. When he saw me come out of the bedroom, his arms opened. There's our baby angel. Come here, princess. I fell into his arms, which enveloped around me. Congratulations, I am so excited for both of you. Uncle Chandler's lips grazed my forehead, and then he motioned to Monica to join our embrace. We have something for you, honey, Uncle Chandler whispered. My jaw dropped. Really, what is it? He handed me a box. Open it. I opened the box gingerly and saw a silver locket inside. Uncle Chandler fastened a necklace around my neck. Look inside. I gently opened it. Inside was a photo from last summer of the three of us together when we were at the beach. Thank you so much, Uncle Chandler, and I hesitated. Monica kissed my cheek. It's perfectly okay for you to call me Auntie Monica now, honey. The wedding is only about 7 or 8 months away. I nodded. Okay. There was a 5-minute pause. Thank you so much, Uncle Chandler and Auntie Monica. There was a 5-minute pause. I leaned against Auntie Monica's chest. I love you, Mommy and Daddy, I whispered. Uncle Chandler wrapped Auntie Monica and I in a hug and kissed our heads. Our sweetest baby angel, our love for you is infinite. We will always be here for you. And we stood there in a candlelit apartment, shedding tears of joy. So this next chapter that I wrote, the next chapter that I wrote is an alternative relationship chapter that focuses around Chandler and Kathy. So if Chandler and Monica did not get married, I saw Chandler and Kathy getting together and working through their differences with the issues with the cheating that occurred in season 4, episode 13, the one with Rachel's crush. So this one takes place after the events of the one with Rachel's crush, and imagine that at this point, Kathy and Chandler are dating, and they are also going to counseling for relationship therapy. So I wanted to explain my fan fiction a little bit. As a side plot to all of the stuff that actually goes on in the shows of Friends, an alternative plot line I have focused the story around is Chandler developing romantic feelings for my self-insert character. I wanted to figure out a way to work in my celebrity crush on Matthew Perry into my fan fiction, and I had trouble doing that in the canonicity of the Friends series, so I decided to do an alternative universe focus for this particular plot line. And Matthew Perry probably would not even like this whole idea of Chandler having a sexual relationship with my self-insert character. So I will begin with this chapter. The one with the dark secret. Uncle Chandler, I love your alternative relationship bonus chapter. Since Uncle Chandler had his drunken outburst a few weeks ago, I now stay with Monica and Rachel whenever I visit them in New York. Even though it feels strange not having Uncle Chandler there, we still have so much fun together. Rachel always takes me shopping at her job because she gets an employee discount and I get to pick out whatever I want. I love her fashion tips. They are so great. This weekend, when I arrived at Monica and Rachel's, I was really surprised to see Kathy there without Uncle Chandler. I had gotten so used to seeing them together. Kathy reached out and hugged me. Hi, sweetheart. It's so good to see you. It's always good to see you too, Kathy. Why isn't Uncle Chandler with you? Kathy glanced at Rachel and Monica and then sighed. Rachel, Monica, and I are worried about you, honey. We wanted to talk to you privately about this without Uncle Chandler. I looked at Rachel and Monica in confusion. What's going on? Monica squeezed my hand gently. Let's go sit on the couch, okay, baby? I leaned against her chest and did not reply. Monica could sense that I was nervous. You haven't done anything wrong, my love. Everything will be all right. I kissed her cheek. Okay, Monica. Kathy's eyes met mine with worry. Uncle Chandler told me that he thinks that the two of you are soulmates. Do you remember having this conversation with him? I nodded. Of course I do. I told him that I was only 10 and I don't even have a boyfriend yet. This was right after he broke up with Janice. You don't have romantic feelings for your uncle, do you, honey? Rachel asked me. I shook my head. Of course not. Monica exhaled. Sweetheart, do you know what grooming is? No. Kathy squeezed my hand and looked at Monica and Rachel. It means he can easily manipulate you to take advantage of you sexually. I would never break you and Uncle Chandler up, Kathy. I really like you. Kathy pulled me close to her and rubbed my back. Honey, I love you so much. If anything did happen, it wouldn't be your fault. I would never forgive myself if Uncle Chandler ever hurt you. My eyes clouded over with worry, and I started to shake and hyperventilate. I am having an anxiety attack, I whispered. I immediately ran to the bathroom and threw up. 5 minutes later, I felt a gentle hand rubbing my back. It was Monica. Kathy and Rachel stood in the doorway to the bathroom looking concerned. Our sweet girl, Mama, Kathy, and Rachel are right here. Won't you please tell us what's going on? We want to help you. Does Uncle Chandler use the special girl nickname as a way to groom me? Because I always feel so special and loved when he calls me that. Monica had tears in her eyes. Absolutely. That is why you stayed with me when Uncle Chandler was drunk a few weeks ago. Uncle Joey, Rachel, and I were so afraid that he was going to rape you. Rachel let out a deep breath. Does Uncle Chandler ever touch you inappropriately when you are snuggled together in your bed? I shook my head. No. Even so, that behavior really concerns us too, and honestly, it needs to stop. Again, we are concerned he will rape you, whether he is drinking or not. He promised me that he would never hurt me, Rachel. We don't trust him, honey, and you shouldn't be so quick to trust him either. I glanced up at Kathy. So are you going to move in with Uncle Chandler in spite of all of this? Kathy nodded. We just found a really good 4-bedroom apartment. One bedroom will be your room for when you come to visit. Another will be used for an office, and the other one will be a nursery. My eyes glowed with excitement. You and Uncle Chandler want to have a baby? Kathy sighed. I'd really like to. He really needs to get this disgusting sexual attraction to you behind him, though. I want us to have a healthy and safe home to raise a family together in. I smiled. I can't wait to have a little cousin, Kathy. Kathy tousled my hair. Don't jump ahead too much, my darling. We haven't even gotten married yet. When do you want to go shopping for my new bedroom? How about we go shopping tomorrow? I nodded. That sounds awesome. Monica's arms wrapped around me. Let's get washed up, then we can have lunch, and then you and I can take a little nap, okay, princess? I nodded and then laid my head on her shoulder. I love you. Mama loves you always, my angel. Monica's lips grazed my forehead gently. The last chapter I wanted to share is based around the episode, the one with the fertility test. Sad news. Uncle Chandler, I love you. Chapter 13. When I was at Uncle Chandler and Auntie Monica's this weekend, they got a phone call from their fertility doctor with results from their recent appointment. I could tell from Monica's tone of voice that they did not get good news. After they hung up the phone, Auntie Monica knocked on the bedroom door. I was reading my book for English class. I typically brought my homework with me to their house because I knew Auntie Monica liked to read too, so discussing books with her was a way for us to bond. Honey, I think we need to have a very important talk, she whispered. My eyes met hers, and I immediately noticed that she had been crying. What's wrong, Auntie Monica? Auntie Monica let out a heavy sigh. Have your parents had the birds and the bees talk with you yet? I nodded. What does that have to do with this? Auntie Monica looked at me sadly. Not all pregnancies work out. What did the fertility doctor say to you, Auntie Monica? Auntie Monica dabbed at her eyes. Uncle Chandler and I aren't able to have a baby naturally, sweetheart. So I'm not going to have a little cousin? Auntie Monica shook her head. Not for a long time, unfortunately. We are hopefully going to adopt, but the process could take a while. Feeling 5 years old again, I curled up into her lap and kissed her cheek gently. I'm sorry that you're hurting, Mommy. I love you, I whispered. Auntie Monica's arms encircled around me. Mama loves you too, Princess. We will all get through this together. Yes, we will. We looked up and saw Uncle Chandler standing in the doorway. Auntie Monica motioned to Uncle Chandler to join our embrace. "Come here, Chandler," she whispered. Uncle Chandler sat down on the bed and pulled Auntie Monica tightly against his chest. "Love you, Mon," he whispered. "I love you too. Everything is going to be okay, I promise." Auntie Monica kissed Uncle Chandler's cheek. I know. Uncle Chandler kissed my cheek. "You are our sunshine girl, baby angel. Whenever we do have a child, you will be a great role model to them. I just know it." "I love you, Daddy," I whispered. "I love you too, beautiful." And the three of us sat there in silence. I stared at the ceiling of Auntie Monica and Uncle Chandler's bedroom and whispered a silent prayer. "Please, God, give Uncle Chandler and Auntie Monica a baby. They have always been so good to me, and our family needs to be complete." I hadn't even noticed that I had been crying but Uncle Chandler heard me. "Let me take her, Mon," I heard him whisper to Auntie Monica, and I felt the warmth of a familiar embrace wrap around me. "Daddy's right here, honey. Let those tears flow, okay?" I buried my face into his shoulder. "I want our family to be happy," I whispered. As I said a few minutes ago, everything is going to be okay. Do you promise?" He brushed my hair back from my forehead and kissed it softly. "Of course I do." Our eyes met at that moment I knew how much we were both hurting, and I wanted to return the kiss he'd given me in apartment 19. I glanced at Auntie Monica, and she could sense my hesitation. "Sweetheart, if you want to kiss Uncle Chandler, that's okay. I know that you don't mean anything sexual by it." I exhaled. "Okay." I leaned in and my eyes met Uncle Chandler's. Afterwards, I laid my head in his lap. "See, I told you that you had nothing to be ashamed or afraid of." Uncle Chandler rubbed my back. "Did that take your pain away, Uncle Chandler?" Uncle Chandler nodded slowly. It took mine away too," I admitted. "You will always be our baby girl, no matter how old we get, and we love you always," Uncle Chandler whispered. I didn't reply because I had fallen asleep in his lap. Auntie Monica pulled the covers down, and Uncle Chandler tucked me in gently, kissing my forehead again. Uncle Chandler then wrapped Auntie Monica in a hug. "Isn't she just the best?" Uncle Chandler asked. Auntie Monica smiled softly. "She certainly makes our days brighter. Chandler, I love her to pieces. Thank you so much for bringing her into my life." Uncle Chandler smiled ruefully. "Rachel deserves partial credit too. Janine is her cousin after all." Auntie Monica kissed his cheek softly. "She certainly does. I have to say, Rachel, Phoebe, and I do spoil her rotten." "Sleep well, Angel. We love you," Auntie Monica whispered. She bent down and gently kissed my forehead. She clicked the light switch off, and she and Uncle Chandler walked out of the room and shut the door behind them. So thank you for tuning in. Have a great day.